True story. Michael McLean, noblebook.com, coming to you on a early, absolutely fantastic morning out at the lake. Time for some road work, 70 minutes. That's 15,000 steps, which is written on my forearm. A goal, daily goal, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 7 days, 14 days, 21 days, getting into the habit, 30 days habit, 45 lifestyle, 90 days cemented lifestyle, mentally and physically, just like brushing my teeth. Won't have to think about it, won't have to write it down. It'll be automatic 15,000 steps per day. Wake up, put my shoes on, put my gear on, drink some water, head out, 70-minute walk, 15,000 steps, which of course I will be monitoring with my Oura Ring every single day. One of the only apps, probably the only app that I use, the only valuable app that I use. I use it with my Oura Ring to calculate the number of steps that I take every single day. The only other app that I use is for monitoring my sleep. How well I'm sleeping. I'm going to the bed at the same time every night, yes. Getting up at the exact same time every day, yes. But how am I sleeping in between? And then tweaking, improving, monitoring. What am I eating before? How much water am I consuming before bed? What am I watching? What am I reading? All these kinds of things, so that I'm maximizing movement. My 15,000 steps a day is huge, and monitoring my sleep. Rest is a weapon. Rest is a weapon. So I have a story for you today under the great Napoleon Hill, the author of one of my all-time favorite business books, Think and Grow Rich, was quoted as saying, "Thinking is one of the hardest things a man can do. And this is why so few men engage in it." Thinking is one of the hardest things that a man can do. And this is the reason so few men participate or engage in it. Thinking. I've always said that the difference between the 99% mediocre majority, the ordinary, the average, the businessman living a life of quiet desperation versus the top 1%ers that I work with, the top 1% crazy, relentless, generous, driven. A big part of the difference between the 99% and the 1% who build their own world, who have a freedom, autonomy, control, personal sovereignty, is thinking. The difference, to me, one of the huge differences between the 1% and the 99% is thinking. So let me give you an example of something that happened last Friday evening. So last Saturday was my birthday. So my wife, Krista, booked us dinner at our favorite restaurant in town. This person it's just a fantastic small restaurant, Italian food, and it's right beside my old insurance agency. I still own the building, and he uses my alleyway as a patio. I don't charge him. Really solid guy, hardworking. He's had the restaurant for 17 years. He opened up the restaurant when I was buying McLean Insurance for my father. So we had a lot in common in terms of starting and, transforming a business. His was brand new. Mine, I was reinventing. And, him and his wife have worked endlessly, 60, 70, 80, 90 hours per week through the years to build up, to make a living. They're typical small business owners, to grind out a living. And they've been able to do that and provide an amazing place to eat in our beautiful small town. So Krista and I enjoyed a fantastic meal on Friday, and he always comes out to sit with us after. That's always a tradition. We're the last seating. So he always comes out and talks business and tells stories and all. And I really enjoy it. I love talking to small businessmen. I love talking to entrepreneurs. It's my fuel. So we enjoy our dinner, and sure as hell, he comes out and he's done for the night. The kitchen's cleaned up. The staff are leaving. And he sits down. He starts to talk. You know, how was Florida? How was Naples? All this kind of small talk, right? I despise small talk, by the way. I'm with Jimmy Johnson of the Dallas Cowboys. Like, that's not my deal. My deal is real talk, accurate thinking, talking about important things, talking about winning, talking about losing, talking about ideas. I'm not really into the how are you and the weather and how was Florida and all that stuff. So we get through that, and it's interesting. I ask him a question. I love questioning. I just love questioning people because it's my new thing, right? If I'm out with the civilians, which is very rarely, but if I'm out with the civilians, I'm always questioning now. That's how I entertain myself. I clearly, I'm like my wife Krista says, you clearly enjoy questioning these other people, businessmen especially. So I ask him a question. He's sitting down, he's talking, he's bitching and chewing about something, taxes or Justine Trudeau or something beyond his control. So I have no interest in those topics. I have no interest in listening to any more of that stuff about the China virus. There's nothing there I control. There's nothing there I'm going to learn from. So I quickly turn the conversation by questioning. I say, so is your business still listed for sale? So this little bistro has been listed for about a year. And what's tragic about the whole thing is he and his wife were just about to list the building and the restaurant, which is their life's work. 17 years of blood and guts. Toughest business in the world, restaurant business. I know it intimately, and I just hate that model. When I sit in a restaurant, I'm just like, I love the food being prepared, but I look around at the employees and the overhead and the taxes and the tiny margins, if there is any margins, and the alcohol and the patrons, and it just makes me sick to my stomach. So to make a short story long, I said to him, is your business still for sale? It was for sale when we left for Naples. $1.3 million, $1.5 million, something like that. If he sells the business, he and his wife are basically retired. They're set. If they manage their money properly, they own their own home, they own their vehicles, they live a conservative lifestyle, they're good. And I've talked to him about this before. So he says, yes, it's listed, but the real estate agent, I don't even know who it is no damn good, right? So the new real estate agent's no damn good. He's not going to renew the contract. And I ask him who the commercial broker is. So literally, it's a real estate agent, a local real estate agent, not a pro, an amateur, somebody who lists houses, lists cottages, lists a few businesses, but no special knowledge whatsoever, no expertise whatsoever. He might as well have listed it with, one of my barbers. Honestly, it just, and then he's wondering why he's not getting any leads. So I start, after he's done talking and complaining and whining about how he's not selling this business, he's already talking about reducing the price, which again makes me want to vomit on the table. A race to the bottom. If you can't sell something, a race to the bottom. So you destroy your profit margins, you destroy your peace of mind retirement, and you end up undervaluing your life's work. So I interrupt him again. I ask him a few more questions. He doesn't have the answers to any of these questions, by the way. He doesn't have any answers to any of these questions. So I'm asking him, who's the perfect prospect to buy this? Who's the perfect buyer? Who can buy this place? And who has the money to buy it? So those two things. First of all, who would be motivated to buy this building and this business? And secondly, who has the ability, the financial ability to buy it? So he doesn't really have answers for those questions either. Everything is vague, everything is made up. It's like a consulting day for me in the old days where I ask questions of guys paying me 20 grand a day and they don't even know the numbers in their businesses. They don't know the cost per lead. They don't know their marketing stuff. They don't know the key numbers. So more of the same here. And, you know, it's free advice, but it's kind of fun because I'm out for my birthday. So I tell him, I interrupt him and I say, listen, I said, next door is my building. Like, we know each other very well. I said, I sold McLean Insurance. I sold my business exactly 5 years ago. On June 1st, 5 years ago, is when I sold McLean Insurance, our 45-year business, for a record, industry record multiple. And he's like, yeah, that just goes right over his head, right? So he has a guy sitting right in front of him who's done exactly what he wants to do, and I'm willing to dispense some free advice. In other words, he wants to sell his business for a record profit, or at least for a profit, and he's sitting across from a guy who did that exact thing next door on the same main street, and I'm having a hard time even getting a word in. So I finally explained, I said, you know, I used RBC Investments Acquisitions. I said they're the largest acquisition firm in Canada. I said they take 5% of the sale. It's the best money I've ever invested. I tell him that, you know, I was able to continue to operate and own my insurance agency for 12 months. I was never distracted by the potential sale. I was 95% hands off. I went on vacations. I continued with my marketing. I continued to grow the business. Not one person knew that my agency was for sale during the year that I sold it. I talked about confidentiality. I talked about their level of professionalism, how the day that I announced it to my team on June 1st, 5 years ago, that was the very first time that anybody, any employee, manager had even heard about it, which is unheard of in most businesses, because in these industries, you have the guys that come in and talk and gossip and all this stuff. So I was pretty proud of that fact that RBC had done such an amazing job that there was not even a single rumor about it. So I continued to talk to him about how, you know, they have specialty niches. In other words, they have people in their company that just sell restaurants, just sell insurance agencies, just sell, you know, retail stores. And you can see him, he's sitting there scratching his head and on and on. But all he's thinking, his mind is completely closed. And he's exactly like the 99% that I refuse to work with. I refuse to even deal with. He's thinking of how this won't work. He's thinking of how and why this won't work in his business. We're talking about a record multiple sale. He's thinking already in his mind that I was lucky, or that's the insurance business, or I know people, which all of that is just 100% BS. And all he's thinking about is how this doesn't apply to him. So I continue to say a few things. I say, you know, it's the best 5% I ever met. I said, you know, I gauged it. One time I sat down and did some money math, and I said, you know, I think that they sold it. I think they added another 7 figures by me not selling it or not using somebody local or some real estate agent like he was. I sat down a few years ago and I said, you know, how much did dealing with the best, RBC Acquisitions in my case, how much did that actually make me? And I was thinking about it, and I said, you know, I sat down a few years ago and I said, they added another 7 figures to the deal. They added another minimum, I'm being very conservative. They added a minimum $1 million to my deal. In other words, their 5% was free. Their 10%, if they had, would have been free. So by hiring the best and having them work tirelessly for an entire year, they worked for 12 months. They started with a prospect list, by the way, of 300. They got it down to 100. And from there, they contacted 75 potential buyers by phone. By phone. By doing that, they got the list down to something like, I'm going to say 30 to 35 hot leads. Hot leads. They did all this work by the phone. And they sent confidentiality agreements to these 30, 35 people, which again filters them out again, right? It's just a funnel. You're repelling the people that aren't serious, and you're attracting the people that are serious. So this got it down to about 10 really hot potential buyers. And when it was all said and done, and I explained this to him at the table on Friday night, I said, listen, when this was all done, when we got down to the short strokes here, I said, they put 4 pieces of paper in front of me on a conference table here in Perth, up at the hotel. And they said, Michael, here are 4 official offers to buy your business. 4 official offers on one single page each. They said, now the decision is yours. It's not a question if, it's a question of which one. And then the 2 guys that work for RBC, fantastic. They sit down and they say, okay, we're going to explain the pros and cons of all 4 of these offers. These are max offers. So we went through that. And at the end of it, there was things in there that really mattered that they negotiated. Like things like not selling the business or not selling the building and them signing a 10-year lease, which I ended up doing. Things like, okay, there's the 1 or 2 of the groups wanted to buy the building, so you can walk away from the building. Also, there was things in there like the one group that I eventually sold to, they wanted to retain my dad if he was willing. My dad was like 82, 83 at the time. And I went out to lunch for a beer and a sandwich with my dad one day. And I said, Dad, would you be interested at all in staying? He's like, I'd love to stay. So they paid him an executive salary for 3 years after I sold it. So he was able to walk away into the sunset at age 85 on his own terms. And he was able to do it his way. And thanks to these guys. So I talked about how they got it down to four buyers. I talked about how it was free to do, because these guys, they at least added another multiple, and how they sold it for an industry record in a small community. Sure, my agency was number 1 in the country for 7 years straight, but that doesn't mean you'll sell it for the number 1 price, especially if you're in a small community. The economy was so-so at the time. So these are the things that I shared with him. And, during the interruptions, this is different. And I know, like, the stuff you talk about, like, crack your head open. Like, that's what I say. Like, if you're one of these guys who's always like, well, this doesn't apply to me, or this wouldn't work in my business, or you don't know my industry, my only advice is crack your head open. Crack your head open and start thinking. There is no different business. We're all in the same business. We're in the marketing business. We're in the relationship business. We're in the money business. And I get this all the time. Well, Michael, that works for the insurance business, or that works in the hockey business, or that works in the barbershop business, or that works in the window washing business, or that works in your marriage, or that works in your country. And it's just endlessly. And that's how amateurs talk. That's how the 99% quiet desperation talk. The top 1%ers, the guys I deal with, the world builders, they're guys that just say, how can I make this work in my life? How can I make this work in my business? How can I make this work? Like, I'm sitting there doing a seminar Friday night on how to sell your business for a record multiple. I mean, that's what I've done, and I'm good at that one thing. And here's a guy who's sitting there with a completely closed mind, and he's like, that doesn't apply. So it got better. He finally said, who is this again? Like, he's sitting there. And I said, it's RBC Acquisitions. I said, Google the name. I said, use my name as a reference. I mean, they did the deal next door, absolutely next door. And he never wrote it down, never had a piece of paper, never went and got a pen. I think he went back and worked in the kitchen. And if I'm a betting man, which I am a betting man, I would put hard money. I'd go all in on the fact that that name will never be Googled, that email will never be sent, that phone call will never be made to RBC. There'll be no outreach at all. And the business will be relisted with some other local agent because he's going to get rid of this other one. So same mess. And the price will be slashed. It'll be sold locally to somebody. You know, you got to sell those businesses to big, you know, city people with money that want a small town life. That's how I did it with mine. I had to reach the Toronto people. I had to reach the big companies. And it's just amazing when a person, is there anything sadder than a closed mind? Like just to sit there. And at the end, that was it. I just was like, well, I said, you know, they led to my personal freedom. RBC is the reason that I live in a safe harbor position. I haven't had to work in probably 7 years, but since I sold the business, 5 years for sure. And I just couldn't talk highly enough about the job they did, the confidentiality, how I went about my business. And just interrupting me and saying things like, well, you know, I don't have time to sell this. I need my real estate agent to do the work. And I'm just like, were you listening to a fucking word I said? I just got finished saying that you just go on with your business for a year or two, however long it takes for them to attract the perfect buyer. And then he would say things like, well, you know, I really know the restaurant business, you know, and I know the numbers. And I'm like, well, you know what? These guys are specialists, and they have guys that all they do is sell this type of restaurant. And I'm just killing my words. It's a good thing I'm just out for dinner, because I mean, if this was a business environment, I would just be wanting to jump off a bridge. But that's not abnormal. That's the way most people think in today's world. Their minds are completely closed. That's civilian life right there, guys. Like, that's why we need to run from that. Like, why do you think I tell you that you need to be a voracious reader? Like, why do you think that I've been talking about that for 15 years, that you need to read real books, real newsletters, you know, listen to real podcasts, and you have to repel 99.9% of everything else? Why do you think I say that? Because the 99% don't read, they don't have any information, they're low information and low IQ. If you question a person, like as an example, I asked him a couple questions about selling and he was stumped. You ask somebody about, you know, Ukraine or Russia and they're outraged, and you ask them a couple questions, they're stumped. You ask somebody about the China virus and they're stumped. You ask people about taxation, they're stumped. You ask people about, you know, Florida or Naples, they're stumped. And it was no different when Krista and I decided to relocate for the winter to Naples. You know, like of the people I meet on my morning walk, the first day I was back, they're like, oh my God, Michael, thank God you're home, safe. And I'm just like, wow, crack open your mind. Crack open your mind. You know, it really says that you don't know anything about what you're talking about. My dad says, deep as a puddle, Michael, deep as a puddle. You know, you hear people talk and they reveal that they don't read. They reveal that they're not personally, you know, they're not into personal improvement. Like, I don't want anything to do with anybody that's not into personal development. I don't want to sit on this boat. I don't want to have lunch. I don't want to have dinner. I don't want to be married to somebody. I don't want to spend any time with anybody that's not into personal improvement and personal development. And you can hear it in the vocabulary by just those simple things, like their mind is closed to everything. Well, that wouldn't work for me. That doesn't apply for my business. And it's the same as guys on my video list who haven't bought my book. Like, if you haven't invested, if you don't think that your marriage, your relationship with your kids, your physical and mental health, and your business isn't worth $20 investment, like literally I can help you build a brand new world where you live life and do business on your own terms. If you're not willing to invest a measly $20, that's pocket change, you spend that this morning on energy drinks and caffeine. if you're not willing to invest $20 in my book that makes all these differences and helps you build your own world, then you have no business being on my list to begin with. I don't know why you're here. I don't know why you're watching these videos. I don't know why you're on my list, because you've got a closed mind. You're never, ever, ever, ever going to have a chance to build your own world because you don't invest in yourself. You don't invest in your wife, your kids, your family, your business. So you have no chance to win. So there's no reason for you to be here. I'm all about investment. You know what I did for my birthday on Saturday? You know what I did? And I do this every year. You know what I did for Michael McLean, yours relentless's birthday on Saturday? I literally sat in there by the fireplace. I didn't even say to anybody. And I applied for a $100,000 mastermind, which I'll get in, of course. Of course I'll get in. And that's my gift to me. And I said, you know what? I need some coaching. Don't ever be coached by a person who isn't coached. I've been coached my whole life. I'm constantly reading, studying, listening, but I'm also a part of an elite mastermind. I always have been. Dan Kennedy's mastermind, Bill Glazier's mastermind. Those were 30 grand a year back in the day. So I sit down and I give myself the greatest birthday present I could ever give myself for my wife, my daughter, my business, for you men, is I sit down and I apply for the best mastermind money can buy. It's 100 grand. Again, it's like RBC, it's free. I'll make that money back in the first month by associating with those 18 people, entrepreneurs in this mastermind that I'll be in over the next year. I'm going to get that money back in a month, the 100 grand. It doesn't matter if it was 500 grand because it's an investment in myself. My mind is open, and it's going to help even crack it open even more because I'm going to be around people that are doing just as well as I am and some that are doing better. And I'm going to learn. I'm going to give, and I'm going to up-level my social circle. So to me, that's free. It's like the acquisition team. And that's what I was trying to get into this guy's head, is when you hire the best, it actually doesn't cost you anything. So with that in mind, it all comes down to, are you a civilian? Do you think like a civilian? Is your mind closed? Or are you a 1% badass? That's what it all comes down to. Are you a 1% badass who invests in, the more you pay attention. So I'm always looking for courses and classes and online trainings and books and masterminds and all these things. So if you're one of the 1% badasses, okay, you're not part of the civilians, then I got a brand new opportunity. It's for 18 men, and it's a 12-month badass world building brotherhood, okay? I'm going to help you over the next 12 months build the life of your dreams. Nobody world builds. I'm the number one. I'm the world builder. This is what I do better than anybody on this planet. And if you're interested in applying, there's half of my world builders took up half the spots. So if you're interested in being placed on a waiting list for this $12,000 it's 12 months. It's $50,000. It's serious coaching. It's hard coaching. It's accountability. And it's association with the Navy SEALs of marketing and business. You just take everything in your life to a new level, and we build you a brand new world. It doesn't help you tweak your marriage. It doesn't help you reinvent your business. It doesn't help you repair your relationship with your kids. My brotherhood blows the whole fucking thing up. Okay, if you're burning down your life right now, I'm like, good. It saves me from doing it, because we're going to rebuild your entire world, your marriage, your business, your marketing, your health, your mental health, your physical health, your legacy. We're going to rebuild the whole thing around you. Okay, the business is going to be built around you, and it's going to be your terms and your rules, your world. That's what world building's about. It's not like anything else. It's a brand new opportunity like no other. If you're interested, you need to apply at badasschampion.com. Badasschampion.com. You go there, you leave your name and email. That's it. There's no obligation, but I need you to raise your hand if you're interested in one of the last spots. That's all it is. You raise your hand. That means you and I get on the phone later this summer, because I'm going to start in September. But it's a brand new opportunity for 18 elite badass millionaires who want to build a brand new world, who want to blow it up and want to transform their business, their marketing, their marriage, their relationship with their kids, your physical health, your mental health, you name it, a brand new world. Okay? So that's it. If you're interested, apply at badasschampion.com and do it now. Okay? You're either the 99% civilian life, desperate, quiet desperation, or you're the 1% badass leader. It's one or the other. And I hope that story has shared with you is to be constantly opening up your mind, asking questions, learning, reading, studying, listening, and growing your mind. And just cracking open your mind to new ideas and asking the question, how can I use this in my world? How can I use this in my marriage? How can I use this in my business? How can I use this to improve my life or my world or whatever it is? Okay? God bless you and your family. Make sure that you, at the end of today, you hug your wife and your children and you tell them, you look them in the eye and you tell them that you love them. Our greatest blessings are standing right in front of us. As entrepreneurs, we want to do all this amazing stuff, which is great, but the true blessings in our life, our secret weapon is standing in front of us, our spouse, our wife, and our blessings. Children are a gift. Make sure every single day of your life, before you go to bed, before you close your eyes, you tell your wife and your children how much they mean to you. And then back it up with the way you act, behave, and think and treat them, and always, always, always be present. That's it. 2 words that changed my life. 2 words that will change yours. Be relentless.